Hello there and welcome to the Geargia how-to side, how to play introduction masterclass video by me. So this video will be divided into three sections. The first section is the deck introduction. We will go through the deck. The second section is about some general concepts like how to play, when to play control, when to play aggro. And then the third section will be mostly about side decking, the general concepts and how to approach different specific matchups. Okay, so I think first things first, Geargia is actually a very simple main deck engine, and it's really not much to say here. Accelerators, armors, arsenals, 3 MK2s and 1 small Geargiano. I guess one thing that you have to say is that as you play, you want to put this one into the graveyard as soon as possible with Geargia Arsenal into him, then he tributes himself, gets him back, and then you exist, for example, into Geargia. The reason to do this is to, have him in the flow so that Geargia can float into him, and then he can float into Accelerator to create a small infinite loop of basic resources. We can count, I suppose, soul charges as part of the engine, because this is really why the deck is good. You can have some very strong soul charge plays, and this is what everyone is always careful when playing Geargia. And personally, I would consider also Book of Moon like a semi-part of the engine, because it works so well with Geargia armors. For example, you can prevent them from being Fiendish Chained, Breakthrough Skilled. It also works well with Geargiano MK2 for the same reasons. And then additionally, he can be flip summoned again to get a secondary effect again if this works. But other than that, Book of Moon in general is a good generic card that is good on its own, but like I said, with these additional synergies, it's like a staple. There is one last reason why Book of Moon is so good, especially more so post-side. It is in the anticipation of Flying Sea, which some decks might want to side against you. So yeah, you can prevent the Flying Seas. The rest of the deck is basically just good stuff. Good spells and traps that are available in the format, like here in this particular build, which is the build I took for the latest Moral Attack Monthly Tournament. I have, if I sort it again, I have 2 Maxis, Book of Moon, Dark Hole. I put Mind Control in the main. This can be either in the side or in the main. 3 MSTs, 3 Soul Charges we already went through, 3 Upstart. I will talk about Upstarts or hands later. Bottomless, 2 Breakthrough Skills, Compulsories, Fiendish Chains, Gears, Needle Sealing, Solemn Warning, and Torrential. I will not go over side deck because I will talk about the side deck quite later. And the extra deck is, pretty much staples. Just some generically good rank 4s, and for the rank 3s, I like these 3: Soul of Silver Mountain, Windubs and Minus, and Ghost Trick Alucard. Okay, so it's time to give a little bit of discussion regarding these guys, which are very often mained in the Geargia deck. So everyone knows that the HAT format, the letter H actually means hands, because they are such a very important part of the format. Everyone expects them, everyone respects them, everyone knows how to play against them. But consider Geargia's, consider hands, especially in the Geargia deck. What makes them so annoying in the Geargia matchup? So if you are opponent of Geargia, when your opponent sets a monster across of you, you immediately expect it to be Geargia armor. And the way to go about this is to attack this Geargia armor as soon as possible to prevent the loop. And now, as you can already see, if the Geargia player plays pure build, for example like mine here without hands, then you are very safe to attack the sets, and it is the correct thing to do 99.999% of the time. There will be no punishment for attacking the sets. Conversely, if the Geargia player is playing hands, then he will be able to set a monster for the first turn very consistently, and the opponent won't be able to tell if it's a hand or an armor. And this is why the hands in the Geargia matchup are said to have some kind of background synergy, because of this set psychological warfare trick. So how does the opponent actually deal with a Geargia player setting a monster if it is known that he is playing hands? Well, to be honest, it's not very elegant. There are no elegant solutions to it. Sometimes they are just waiting and to see if the Geargia player is flipping it next turn. If it's not flipped, then they assume it's a hand. Sometimes they will make a dweller preventively, but as you can see, all of these lines are putting the opponent into a very bad spots, and that is why hands are sometimes played. I mean, most often actually played in the main. On the other hand, if you don't decide to play hands, then you have a lot of additional space, which in my build I just replaced with upstarts and this mind control in the main, which also released one spot in the side deck. I'm not making a statement whether hands or handless is better, and I'm pretty sure that the correct answer to that question depends actually on the meta composition which you are expecting in the current let's say tournament or the current ranked ladder. So if the hands are very strong against the expected meta, then of course you would be like maining hands. But if the hands are not very strong, then you wouldn't be maining hands. And lastly, you can even put hands in the side, but this is the last option I would not recommend, because there are more important things to side than these generic hands. So I talked about the hands, the synergy. Okay, there is one glaring weakness of the deck when you consider pure Geargias, and if you look at the main deck and if you look at the side deck, extra deck, you will see that the only real way to out big attack or defense monsters even harder, but the only ways to out big attack monsters are this 101 arc if the monster is special summoned, 0 if the monster has modified attack, and then the Black Sheep of Corn in combination with Rhapsody in Berserk can also out every monster that has less than 3300 attack. You can also out some monsters with Golem, and in the main deck you can also out some monsters with Zen minus and Exiton, but it's not so trivial. In the main deck there are only Dark Hole and Book of Moon, maybe Torrential and Needle and Compulsory if you are playing these staples. But yeah, the deck has some trouble outing big monsters with its engine. Actually, it has no engine way to out, because everything that I pointed out so far is not the engine part of the deck. So always when opponents summon something heavy, you must go out of your engine to try to out it, and this can slow you down a little bit, or even make you lose your momentum, because you aren't looping anymore. And why am I saying all this? It's because the hands are actually here to help you with exactly this issue. instead of going into all the trouble of going out of your engine to try to out the monsters, if you have Fire Hand in hand, you can just summon, attack, and it's over. So these are two very good benefits of the hands. And now let's finally mention what is the bad thing about the hands. They are not the engine, therefore if you spend a summon on them, you will not be able to go into Geargia. Sometimes this is bad because, you know, some hands are monster heavy and you want to spend all the summon every turn into Geargia. And yeah, and as I said earlier, Soul Charge is a very big factor of this deck, and hands are kinda anti-synergizing with Soul Charge, you know, because to actually use the hands you have to go into the battle phase, and if you go to the battle phase you cannot Soul Charge, and if you Soul Charge you cannot go into the battle phase, so you can't use these two in the same turn as well. Yeah, so I think this is a good enough deck introduction for now. Maybe I can just very briefly talk about why I personally choose these good stuff cards for the company and not some others. Like I said, okay, Book of Moon I already went through. Maxi is, you know, a very strong, I don't have to really explain Maxi. Dark Hole is because of this, what I talked for the previous 10 minutes, because we can't out monsters. This is like a meta choice. 3 MSTs are, I think, a staple because there are never enough back row removals, especially if you play against some decks that you need to out something, like dragons have skill drain, spellbooks have their field spell, and so on. This is obvious. Bottomless is a staple. Two breakthrough skills are played, you know, because the HAT and CAT decks are so very popular, and this is like the best card against them. This is a staple. This is personally a staple because it's like the best trap other than the ones we already went through. This you have to play. And Torrential and Solemn are also quite staples, and this is like a new addition to the deck. It's good. You can play something else if you want. Okay. Now the general concepts. Now this section is not really related to the Geargia deck very specifically, but you can use these things when playing some other decks as well. But the thing I want to talk about is specifically when to play the control, the slow, grindy game, accumulating advantage, playing very slowly, carefully, methodically. And on the other hand, when do you want to just flip armor, accelerator, summon accelerator, go for Giant, special again, accelerator if possible, and attack, and try to finish the game as soon as possible. To describe these two situations, we will give an example of specific matchups. And the two matchups that really amplify these two different gameplays are, on the one hand, HAT matchup. It can be CAT as well. And on the other hand, basically any combo matchup like Dragons or Sylvan. In the first scenario, we will always be able to beat them with our engine, because our engine just simply provides us with much advantage, while their engine does not provide advantage on its own as much. Also, we float better than them. So the gameplay against HAT, CAT, and other slow decks is basically, I would say this like a simple rule, but this rule is not 100% always to be obeyed, but just generally. You try to set armor and just flip armors, and you don't even want to go into the Geargia if not necessary. You just go into the Geargia when you need to. For example, when you need to out some monster. But if there is no threat, if you can just flip, attack, set, and so on. You try to accumulate advantage, and when you're ready, you finally push through the back row with all your floating accelerators and giants floating into Gianos and Gianos back into the accelerators, and making some MK2 plays into Geargiano, into this one to pop another set, and then when finally they use all of 3 back rows to stop this, then you go into the soul charge, make more Giants, Daigustos and stuff like that. That is generally how you win against those decks. On the other hand, when you play against combo matchups, they will try to assemble the kill combo in their hand, and usually it contains soul charge, and they will create a board of 5 monsters, and you won't be able to beat them. So in those game states, game matchups, you just want to attack as fast as possible. It's really not that complicated to explain. So you would not flip armor, search set armors, and pass. In those cases, you would like to attack as soon as possible so that you force them to play fast, because if they don't play fast, you will just kill them next turn. There is also, to keep in mind, a very standard way for the Geargia to OTK. If you open Geargia armor and Geargia gear and they don't get disrupted, this amounts to more than 8,000 damage. So try it out on paper alone, and once you do, just know that this OTK is always available if you open them. Sometimes the OTK can be also provided by, if you have some other extenders like MK2 into Golem. This is often a part of the OTKs. And now lastly, I guess what most of the watchers really want to hear, because I suppose that I was talking about the things most of you already knew so far, is the side deck and how to side against different matchups. So of course what we have here is just an example of one side deck, and some of you wouldn't even agree on this side deck. There are many other ways you can side deck, but the purpose of this video is not to argue that this way is better than the other way, but just to give you an insight of how you can approach some matchups, what cards are good against some matchups, and what cards are good to put out. So we will not see every possible matchup and every possible side deck configuration. I will just go through the cards and talk about why they are here, when they can be sided in more generally. But we will mention matchups as examples as I go. Okay? So, Ally of Justice Cycle Reader is a staple side deck card in the Geargia deck, especially because it can be searched by Geargia. Other decks just side crows. So Geargia, this is like a stronger crow for the Geargia. It's searchable. Okay, so we can talk about Cycle Reader and crows like in one same package. So these cards disable the graveyard, and are usually sided, of course, against decks that really rely on the graveyard to do something. Example of such decks would be Cat, because the artifacts can be practically negated. Mermails, because of the ruling that if Atlantean is discarded for a cost for some effect activation, you can chain this and banish the Atlantean, and it won't activate in the next chain because it was banished. Boojins, because they use hares and turtles. dragons, because you want to banish dragon rulers, and the list goes on. The 3 crows are also used against spellbooks, because you negate the spellbook of the master and you prevent their loop. You get the idea. The crows are very good, also Infernity, and that's why I think the 3 crows are pretty much a staple. Here I have the third Max C, which complements the 2 in the main. We put Max C especially when going second against any deck that really special summons, and these are combo decks like Sylvans, Dragons, Infernities. You can even put them against Constellars, decks that play Kage to Kage, Instant Fusion, just any decks that you expect to special summon more than once, even in their first turn. Some people play Max C even against Geargia. It's a very tough discussion whether Max C is good against Geargia or not. Some people like it, some people don't. There are arguments to support both ways, and I'm currently not strongly sure which is correct. Let me get a sip of water, please, first. But let me just quickly outline the argument for Max C against Geargia. So the argument for Max C is that if you are the first one to establish a board, then the opponent is forced to out the board. And in this case, Max C is really good, because it puts them in a double bind. Whether they will not out the board, because Max C will stop them, or they will out the board and you will draw 7 cards from Max C. But as you noticed, I said if I establish board first. So Max C is really not good when the game state is about equal, or especially when I am losing. It doesn't do anything in those scenarios, especially because Geargia can play like just Soul Charge into armors and set them, or just MK2 into armor and set them and pass, so they don't really need to overextend into your max if the game is about equal or they are ahead. Okay. Now we have here these two, a package of floodgates, and some people also, you can also put Soul Drain here to have these 3 floodgates. These floodgates really stop some decks when you open them properly, and you play this when their resolution means an auto win for you. For example, this would be going first against Mermaids, Dragons, Sylvans, stuff like that. Or even against, for example, if you go against Cory McDuffie style head deck which has 6 hands, maybe you would use this. But anything really that uses graveyard, Bujins. You can even use Macrocosmos going first against Spellbook. Be careful, because this one also negates your own Geargia, while all three will negate Accelerator if it is destroyed. Will not go to graveyard, won't be able to add. So it's like a double edge, but against matchups which they auto win, it is just worth to put them, of course. Next, I have these 4 cards. Okay, they are not really a package. Just Noblemans are basically for Geargia, for the mirror match, and you can also put them against decks which play many hands and they set the hands. Sometimes you will even play against Ghost Tricks, and then you can also put Noblemans in against Ghost Tricks. Black Horn of Heaven is more generic, but they are also used against Geargia, because Geargia does not really have many out of the many threats that are not in the extra deck. So in general, you put Black Horn of Heaven for the decks that only have threats in the extra deck, like Synchros, big level 8 plays. So you put them sometimes in against Sylvans, Dragons, and for example, you don't put them against HAT, against Bujin, against Spellbook, but when they are good, they are good. You put them in against Evil Swarm also and stuff like that. Now Debunk is a really good and very versatile card. I like 3 copies because when it's good, it's especially good if you open it, you play it to go first. You can play it to go first against Spellbooks to negate the Priestess, against What to negate the Thunder Horse. You can negate hands, you can banish Dragon Rulers. You put them in against Bujins to negate Crane from hand, Hare and Turtle from graveyard. So I guess one of the best cards, I think, in the side deck. And lastly, here I have Needle Sealing. I put this in over the Soul Drain because Soul Drain is a going first card while Needle Sealing is a going second card. I wanted more going second cards because we can set our monsters and then activate Needle Sealing if our opponent overextends. But yeah, these Needle Sealings are against decks that are known to summon a lot of monsters, like use Soul Charge or just summon 2 or 3 monsters. This actually we went over the side deck quite quickly, but now I'm afraid that we have to also talk about what cards would I put out because I didn't talk about this when I went in this direction. But at least in HAT format, I see that it's more important to think which cards to put in and only then to think about which cards to put out. But let's try for an example. Let's give a few examples. Maybe let's say Bujin. Let's just very naively try to side against Bujin. So we said we want the graveyard disruptions, and this is about it for the Bujin. If I'm going first, I also want Dimensional Fissure and Macrocosmos. Let's say that I'm not going first, but I'm going to definitely put in these cards. Maybe I will not put in all 3 debunks, but I would start by this. Now let's see what I would put out against Bujin. So firstly, you just go through every card and think about what is not good. Here you almost never touch the engine. I mean, never. So the first things to go are Maxi, because Bujin don't really special summon. We will return to the Book of Moon, Dark Hole and Mind Control because we are not sure about this. MSTs, I think we will leave, but we could side some copies out if the Bujin does not play Kaiser Colosseum or if they do not play many back rows, but they play enough back rows for MSTs to be good. Soul Charge we will leave. Upstart we may side out, but I don't like to. If at all possible and you main Upstart, then you just keep it in the side as well. Bottomless is not necessarily so good against Bujin, but I think we will leave it because it's still probably better than some other cards. Breakthrough is quite bad. I'm pretty sure Breakthrough will have to go. Compulsory we can leave. Finish Chain is like a little bit better Breakthrough, or we can say that Breakthrough is a worse finish. This will leave in. Needle Sealing definitely goes out. And now, all things considered, we can see that what we want to side out are some combination of these cards. Maybe even compulsory. But it also depends on what you saw game 1 from Bujins, whether you saw War Taps, Lances and stuff like that. But just generally, I think that Breakthrough Skills are definitely one of the worst cards. I think Mind Control, Mind Control, you can take the Yamato, but if you do, it means that a little damage has already been done. It's like probably worse than Book of Moon. And same for Compulsory. The best use for Compulsory is probably when you remove the Xyz. But the XCs will not really come in so often, especially because we have this 4, and this 4 actually prevent Budge incarnation. So probably I will just side out these 2, and then this would be my side for the Budgeons. Yes. Actually, this is all that I had for this video. It was like a general, not advanced, beginner-friendly video. In the future, maybe we will put out some more of the replay analysis with the Geargia. Try to collect some interesting replays, or if you want, send in your replay that you want to be analyzed, and I will analyze it. Maybe even some friends will help, like Dennis the Benis or Tempest. If you have come so far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please like it, please share it with friends, and I hope I see you in the next one. Until then, whisk out, goodbye and take care.